Welcome to the On a Mission Mojo podcast, where I have the pleasure of interviewing impact-driven founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and business experts who are actively working to create a positive difference in our world. I'm your host, Lori Young, a branding specialist, certified master marketer, and a passionate advocate for brands that possess heart, soul, and an unwavering commitment to drive change for humanity. It takes grit, a visionary mindset, and an abundance of mojo to navigate this journey. And the stories I share will undoubtedly ignite your passion. If you're seeking an infusion of inspiration, motivation, and valuable insights to amplify your impact, let's dive right in. Welcome to episode 25 of On a Mission Mojo. We are here to have some fun today. Yay. We're recording on a Friday afternoon, and I don't know about you if you're listening out there. I'm sure that you have stressful days running your business, and our guest is going to help us bring laughter to our lives and to find the lightheartedness and the funny in everyday life. And I think that we can all use that. So let me introduce to you Gina Ramsey. She is a multifaceted individual with a passion for making a difference in the world through humor, inspiration, and connection. Based on the picturesque Superior, Wisconsin, where it's also cold, she wears many hats as a medical social worker, author, business owner, entrepreneur, and family chaos coordinator. As an author and humorist, Gina has become a guru of finding the funny in life's ongoing crazy mishaps and blunders. Her book, which I can show you right here, is Burnt Glove Boxes, Embracing Life When It Goes Up in Flames, humorously explores life's unexpected moments. As a speaker, she champions the power of setting intentions and finding humor amid life's mishaps, emphasizing how laughter significantly impacts overall health and well-being. Beyond her writing and speaking endeavors, Gina passionately connects with other writers and empowers them with essential resources. Furthermore, she guides individuals toward realizing their dreams and fostering positive change in the world. What sets Gina apart is the affection for screaming rubber chickens and her impressive impersonations of beloved characters like Ethel Merman, Yogi Bear, and Tommy Boy. These unique talents infuse her presentations with memorable charm. Gina leads a journey that blends humor, positivity, and actionable strategies for manifesting success. She encourages us to embrace life's setbacks with a smile and prioritize laughter, all while achieving our goals and enhancing our well-being. So welcome so much, Gina, to the show. You are just exactly what I need today, so I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So why don't we just start and you just share? I know that we've kind of talked about what your mission is, that you're here to bring laughter and lightheartedness and inspiration to the world. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, my whole life, I have really been able to look at the brighter side of things.
Okay.
I believe that came from my dad. My dad was always joking around about things. We've got a holiday coming up on Monday, and he always called it George Burthington's wash day. So he always had funny statements and that type of thing. So I find that I enjoy talking to people and telling them my stories. Mm-hmm. Because when I tell them my stories, I don't know if it's the way my face looks that they're laughing, or, the different expressions that I have. But I also, my stories are, if you've heard of Murphy's Law, mm-hmm. If it'll happen to me. Just crazy stuff happens. And so I found that as I was telling my stories to people, they were laughing. They're like, oh my gosh, you need to write a book someday. Your stories are hilarious. Mm-hmm. And so I set out on this mission over 20 years ago that, I'm going to write a book. Yeah, I'm going to write a book. But through those years, I got busy as a mom and career, everything. And so I finally decided to do that. Mm-hmm. And 2021, I began writing and really even 20 some years ago when I wrote my table of contents, because I knew what my story titles was going to be. Like, I knew all of that. And my goal at that time was to bring joy and laughter to our world. I think it's so important.
Yes, it is. Definitely. So, one of the things that I like about this book, and I was sharing that with Gina before we hit the record button, is she's got a lot of different little stories in here, and the chapters are very short. So, for those of you who are busy, like myself, or just don't prioritize reading, I think this is a great book to just kind of sit down at the end of your day and just read one chapter. It might be 3 or 4 pages and just laugh, right? And just, get some humor out of it, right? So maybe you can share like 1 or 2 of the stories from your book.
Oh, sure. Well, where I came up with the title, Burnt Glove Boxes,
Okay.
we had a glove box that burnt up. I bought my car a car years ago for my mom. We had a car that was just constantly on the fritz. Well, cars through the years. So, and those are highlighted. But anyway, so I bought this car from my mom. She didn't need it anymore. She was very sick at the time, and she said, I want you guys to have a reliable car. And hers she took really good care of it, never had issues. And it was almost the moment that we purchased it from her that we immediately began having problems, but just really weird stuff.
Okay.
So after she died, the radio antenna would go up and down just randomly. The radio would turn off. The lock on the glove box, wasn't doing anything with the glove box at all. And some people refer to it as the glove compartment. I was talking to somebody the other day. Yeah. So, but the lock just randomly fell off of it.
Okay.
And fell on the floor. And so the door flopped open, and we're like, what the heck was that about? We could never figure out like how to get the lock back on. So we used duct tape to affix this door back to the...
Okay.
And so one day we went to my son's basketball tournament, and we were in a hurry, fashionably late as always. And I grabbed my makeup, I grabbed our stuff, grabbed the kids, and headed out the door. Got to this tournament. He did a great job. And I told my husband, I said, I'm going to go let the coach know that Mike is going to be riding home with us. And he said, great, I'll get the other 2 kids loaded into the car. I get to the car. He's laying across it was one of those bench seats, where it goes all the way across. He's laying across it, and smoke, the smell of burning petroleum was horrible. And he's holding this whole like insert of the glove box. He ripped the whole thing out. And I said, what are you doing? And his words were so funny. I still to this day think, where did you come up with the word? Billowing. The smoke was billowing. It was like this dramatic thing. And I'm like, billowing? Like, what is that our engine that I see there? And so he said, I can't find where it was burning, but it was burning. There was smoke everywhere. So he puts the contents of the glove box in the trunk, and we duct taped the door back up again. And as soon as we did that, it started burning again. The glove box started smoking mysteriously.
Very strange.
We found out that the mirror that I brought with to put my makeup on the way to the event was concave. And the way the car was parked in the lot, it was parked in such a way that the sun was hitting the mirror through the window and bouncing off and burning a hole in the glove box. And it's really funny.
Gosh.
Yes. And so that picture, I was going to use that picture I wanted to use the picture for the book, but I like the rubber chicken better now. But but it looks like the little toy soldier army guys. Like, it looks like a guy like squatting down with his rifle.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So, tell us, like, you said that it's kind of like your goal and your mission to, like, give people like actual strategies that they can use for finding
Yeah.
humor in their life. Let's talk about some of those strategies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I've been asked a lot by people, well,
Mm-hmm.
did you find the funny in those circumstances right away? And
Right.
I, across the board, for many of the stories, would say absolutely not.
Okay.
I either wanted to scream, I wanted to cry,
Right.
didn't know what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
And so, but really being able to take a step back once all the stress of it kind of
Mm-hmm.
calms down and really looking at it, finding, first of all, not only finding the funny, but finding the positive in
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. Because there's some things in life that you're not going to be able to find the funny in, but what is the positive that you can take away from that?
Right.
And so in that instance, uh, well, the combination of everything that happened to the car, just made a story. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But really that day, we were so thankful that we got to the car when we did, because
Because the
had we
whole car
not,
could have been
the whole
like burned
car
up.
and the whole lot, like the lot was just jammed with cars. And can you imagine, like,
Right.
boom, 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 boom. Maybe it made a better story, but I don't
Yeah.
know. So
I don't think
that's
other people would have thought that.
no, 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 no. We would have had some lawsuits. But anyways, so based on a mirror.
Right. Exactly. Like,
So
who would think?
yeah, yeah. So that's my goal, is, encouraging people, if something really crazy is happening in your life, like, to be able to, it might not be in that moment, but it
Mm-hmm.
might be later on, where you go, okay, well, this is the positive, that we're still alive. It
Right.
didn't go in flames while we were riding in the car, which it could have, who
Mm-hmm.
knows.
Right.
But yeah, that would be my biggest message to folks, is being able to just look at the lighter side.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes practice. I think
Yes.
anything you do in life takes practice. um but I'm really a firm believer in, like, if you put out negative energy, you're gonna draw in negative energy,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and so the more positive you put out, the more positive will come back to you. So I don't know. I feel like that's helped me in my life. But the funny thing is I didn't really discover all of that until, like, now that I'm old.
Now that you're old, right?
Now that I'm old, yeah.
Comes with wisdom, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's true. And is there anything, like, I know I was just thinking about today. I was talking about how, the day was kind of stressful and we're in the middle of like launching a website for a client, and things just did not go the way we had intended them to go. And my website person was starting to get stressed, which was bringing me stress, and I'm like, oh my god, like, and we're usually like pretty good. And she was able to like start sending like funny memes like over Voxer, like we have we have like this little monkey meme.
Yeah.
Like when we don't like something, we send the little, I don't know if you've ever seen the little emoji, the little monkey emoji. It's just
Yeah.
like, it just sits there, right? Well, now she's found this other, like, this little jiffy that is a goat. And the
Nice.
yeah, the goat like is like got this long tongue, and it's like licking at the screen, and like it always just makes me like start cracking up, and I'm like, oh my god, I needed to see that goat today.
Yes.
And then we
Yes.
just start, and then we're able to start like laughing and breaking the just breaking the cycle of stress.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have so much, like, years ago we didn't have all this technology, right, with
Mm-hmm.
the gifs and the memes and all of that, and we have so much at our hands right now to be able to do, because I do the same thing with,
Right.
I actually had a coworker, we have a little group chat on our
Mm-hmm.
texting, and I'll just pop in some fun reels.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a coworker today. She probably had a very stressful day, but she said, "Do you have any reels?" Right before she left for the day. And I said, "Sure do."
Yeah, sure do. Send them your way.
Yeah. And you're right. It breaks, like, if you're laughing, it doesn't really allow for the feelings of negativity or like ickiness. It really brings your mood up, and it's proven that laughter helps, like, like, it increases the feel good hormones and reduces the stress hormones. So
right. Now, is there anything like that you do, let's say on a daily basis, to infuse laughter into your life, that you could, like, maybe just share some tips with other people that maybe have a hard time seeing the laughter or seeing the lighter side of life? Like, what do you do to, like, make sure that laughter is a part of your everyday life?
yeah, absolutely. Well, somebody just walked through our door, so the dog is barking like crazy. So as I'm caving inside, it's my life. But yeah, I'll tell you, I've been asked, what's your routine in the morning? Because so many people have this routine, beautiful routine, and great on those who get up at 4 a.m. and go exercise and do all that stuff. So the first thing I do, I get up and I make my coffee. And I'll do a little kind of like squats exercise. I just started like 2 days ago. So anyways, that might fall off. Yeah. But anyways, my husband and I, we will start the day by just being sarcastic, not at each other, but about life.
Okay.
Well, of course that, person's doing that, or,
right.
We just find one. So I'm not a cheater in any other game except for Monopoly.
Okay.
And so we hadn't played it in years. My daughter wanted to play it on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
No, it was Christmas Day. Yeah, it was Christmas Day. And so I always make sure I'm the banker, because that gives me, the edge.
Opportunity to cheat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I cheated through the entire game. I gave the kids, my adult children, I gave them money while my husband was taking the dog out. They're asking like what my angle is. So anyways, ultimately the three of us cheated and he won the game. My husband did, and he got none of the free money. And
that'll show you for cheating.
Right. Yeah. So the next morning I'm walking through the kitchen and all of a sudden I hear this out of the bedroom: cheater.
Cheater, right.
And then he brought up this phrase of that the reason why I lost that game is because I cheated on Christ's birthday.
Okay, there you go.
So it's a big thing with our family. But yeah, I mean, we just we find that laughter and it just starts our day off on a good foot.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
absolutely. Tell us another story from your book so that we can just.
Gosh. Well, I will give a gist of the favorite story amongst so many of my readers, my publisher. So my husband, he was a drywall finisher by trade.
Okay.
And he had his own business and he would go and do drywall jobs at people's houses. Well, we lived in a real rural area of Wisconsin. Don't know why, because we moved up from the suburbs of Chicago to this god awful place with a bar and a post office in town. And that was pretty much it, and cornfields everywhere. But he would go to people's houses, and if they had some type of animal, he would want that kind of animal. And so he came home with a bunny once. I'm just like, really? This is crazy. So anyways, he went to a house with a guy who was raising turkeys. And he decided he wanted to raise turkeys.
Okay.
And again, western suburbs of Chicago, no farming knowledge whatsoever. So, so long story short, he got the turkeys. Convinced me that
not just one turkey, but multiple turkeys.
Oh yeah, turkeys. Like it's in the book. I had to count up how many, but anyways, it was like 30 something turkeys. It started with a certain amount of poults because we started with babies.
Okay.
And then a guy at the bait shop was raising pigs. So he wanted us to raise some turkeys for him. And then we would exchange the pig for the turkeys to fill the ice box, our freezers.
Okay.
And there's more stories about pig stuff and stuff in there. The story kept unfolding. Let's put it that way. So, so he got all these turkeys and raised them from babies. They're cute as babies, but then they get really, really ugly.
Okay.
And had no idea that they fly. They fly, people. They sit in the trees and they look down at you.
So they fly up to trees.
Oh, they fly. Yeah. See, the only turkeys I knew of is like on your Thanksgiving Day
Right.
table.
Right. That's the turkey I would think of. They seem too big to be flying, like they'd be
Right.
walking around, right?
Yes. Yeah. So he told me to get fencing for the enclosure that he was building outside. And he said either 4 foot or 6 foot. I thought, why get 6 foot? We don't need 6 foot. Well, they flew, like they were on a roof of our house, stomping around up there. God. But I'll tell you, they were mean. They were so mean, and they came after myself and the kids. But they idolized Paul. They idolized him like a god. It was
my gosh.
It was crazy. They would get loose and go down to the neighbor's house, which was like a quarter of a mile down the road. Neighbor would call Paul, say, your birds are down here, get down here and get them.
Right.
So as soon as Paul hit the road and they saw him, they would like turn around and start running to all these birds.
Really?
Yeah.
Like they were afraid of him?
It was like he was their mother. Oh, there she is. There he is. Whatever, like
right.
Whatever they were thinking, they followed him and they just waddled behind him, but they were mean. And at one point I found out a way to put them under my spell. And it was when I would sing New York, New York to them.
Okay.
When they were in their enclosure, and I would sing and dance, and I had them captivated by my singing and dancing. But that's the only time. But it brought me so much pride that I could.
Yes, that you could have some control over these turkeys.
Over my property.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. Speaking of animal stories, my spouse used to live on like 4 acres out in the country, and it was a little small house, but there was like a lot of like grass and stuff. And so they would bring in goats to eat all of the grass. So they didn't have to like worry about like mowing all of these acres. Right. Well, one day she came out and she found 2 of the goats on the top of her BMW fighting. Can you imagine? Like, oh my God, I would be like flipping my lid. Okay, it's funny now. It's like you said, It's not funny in the moment.
Right.
Right. But later, we can talk about it. I just, another story that just came to me as we were talking is this past Christmas. For those of you who don't know, both myself and Gina are Christmas babies, December 24th, December 27th. So we are kindred goats, just human goats. But we had a gift exchange with my family. My whole family was in town. And I was in charge of like telling everybody, like drawing the names and then telling everybody what each person wanted, right? Well, my spouse wanted a Fanatics gift card. Okay, I think that's the name of it. It's like some sport, some sports, right? Where you can get some 49ers jersey. Well, I didn't think of Fanatics, and when I emailed my son to say, "Hey, you've got Jill's name, and she wants a Fandango gift card," and we went to everyone's opening their presents, and everyone's got these super nice gifts, like, "Oh, yay, this is just what I wanted," And my spouse like opens up her gifts, and I see her look on her face. She's just like, "What?" And I'm like, why isn't she like, this is what she asked for. Like, why isn't she excited? Right.
Yeah.
And in the few minutes later, she's like, I asked for a Fanatics gift card, not Fandango. And oh my God, everyone was roaring with laughter. I'm feeling like horrible, like, oh my God. And my son's like, wait a minute, I'm checking my email. He goes back in his email, he says, it says right here, Fandango gift card. And I'm just like, oh my God. But that's the type of story that we will laugh about for years.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we need to find that funny, like in our
Absolutely. And I find that like the importance of writing. I never really like people would ask me if you could do anything for a career, money's not an option. Like money's not a worry. What would you do? And I always said, I'd be a travel writer. I think that would be fun. But I never really aspired to be an author per se. It just was like, I like traveling. And it's like, okay, well, then I'll write while I travel.
Right. Okay.
I don't know what any of that means. But I really found through this process of writing that down, my kids are going to have these stories. My grandchild will have these stories. Yes. And so I have taken some writing classes and learned about that importance of if you have stories, whether they're funny, whether they're memoir, like personal essays, write them, or else that information gets lost,
Yes, absolutely. On episode 7 of the podcast, I interviewed Nicole Bright, and she is a writing coach for memoir writers. And she gives some really great tips on just the importance of writing down your stories, right? I think it's super important. So you don't like, author is kind of like just one of the many hats that you wear, right?
Yes.
What can you tell people that you've learned about just promoting your book and just raising like visibility for your book?
Yeah.
What have you learned about that?
Lucky thing, it started when I signed on with my publisher. And I had to tell my husband the price when we were starting another business at the same time.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, this is going to be an interesting conversation. And it totally turned out to be something totally different. He said, Gina, if it's anyone that I know will work really, really hard to make this really successful, it's you. It was like the craziest, like most awesome thing that I think he said a lot of really cool things to me through the years, but that will always stick with me. And so I just dug in deep and learned about, how to do sales, how to promote. It's promoting yourself, really. Like people need to get to know you. I've talked to other authors who are like, how do you do this? And it's like, well, like I get on podcasts and I go out to events and I do book signings. Oh, I can't do that. I'm an introvert. Well, you know what? I am kind of too, but people don't know there's so many books out there and they don't know who you are until you put yourself out there and let them know. So that's the biggest thing, is just like really doing a lot of research, asking my publisher and people who I trust the best ways to market a book. Then trying the things. Right.
What was the hardest part, like hardest thing for you to kind of overcome in like writing your book?
My self-doubts. I, sitting down and writing it, I did it during NaNoWriMo month, and I didn't finish the book. That's November writing month, and people set a goal to write a novel in the month of November. And so I wasn't like feeling, oh, I can't do this type of thing. But it was sending that piece of the transcript to the publisher for her to evaluate. Is this something that I want to take on? Is it not?
Right.
I mean, I thought our next meeting would be don't ever pick up a pen again.
Right.
Don't do this ever again.
Right.
So, but when I was in junior high, and it's amazing how much we carry with us through the years. And I
Sure.
carried this for over 40 years. But when I was in junior high, my dad had had a massive heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it was back in the day when, feeling chest pain wasn't like you're having a heart attack and you need to go to the ER. My mom and dad were trying to figure it out. So he had a quadruple bypass surgery.
Oh, wow.
And he almost died.
Mm-hmm.
And, as an 8th grader and seeing this, like our family, our world shook through this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'd missed a lot of school.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a English teacher who had an assignment. We had to write a story.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to present that story in front of the class. And one part of the story, my dad kept trying to get comfortable, and he laid down on their bed, and my mom sat down next to him and asked him, like, what can I do for you? Like, she did not know what to do.
Sure.
And it was terrifying as an eighth grader watching this happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, wow, I'm going to share my story. Like, I'm going to write it, and I'm going to share it. And like, people are really going to be interested in hearing about this.
Right.
And, kids at that age, they're trying to fit in. And so I hit that part in the story about my dad laying on the bed and my mom sitting down next to him. And a couple of boys in the class during my presentation went, ooh.
Oh, gosh.
And I went inward. And I'll tell you what, I remembered that through the years, but it's not like I sulked in that.
Right.
But it wasn't until I began writing and I signed up for a writing class with a writing coach, Leslie Leyland Fields. And she focuses on memoir. So diving deep into some of those harder things. And one of the things she talks about is what we fear as writers. Like, what's our biggest fear?
Right.
And I got to thinking about that moment in my life. And I thought, I got to write the story, because I really feel like this is part of what's held me back in my life in probably a lot of different ways where, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get laughed at. And that I'm telling funny stories and being laughed at, right? So the irony of it.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, so I wrote that story. It was really tough. It's really tough for me to write memoir and serious stories.
Okay.
Yeah. And
probably because of that. Don't you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Like you like wrote something that was so heartfelt and shared something that was so heartfelt to you and serious, like really, really serious to you. And you got ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The cool thing was my story, I submitted it because we can submit our stories to try to win Story of the Week with Leslie's group. And it got Story of the Week. Then you have to read it. So I sobbed through the whole, and I thought in the beginning, I'm like, I'll be fine,
Right.
And I'm sobbing. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, really? Sob through the story. But what was beautiful about the way she teaches things, and many writing coaches will teach this, like, you don't want to go and slam somebody or be mean spirited towards somebody or paint them in a really bad light. And what it is like trying to find the compassion.
Yes.
And I found the compassion for those boys in that piece. And what it was is they were trying to fit in. Like, I was trying to fit in with, like, I didn't get Jordache jeans. My parents couldn't afford those. So I got the knockoffs, but it was all about fitting in. And they probably, if I asked them today, they wouldn't even remember doing that. So, it was a really pivotal moment for me. I will have to say. to kind of get over that fear. And I still deal
Yeah,
with that. I think
of course.
everybody has that imposter syndrome from time to time. So
I think so. Yeah. Your story kind of reminds me of, when I was back in high school, and I think, I tie this to, I think, one of the ways that you can really gain a lot of visibility for, for your brand, for your book, for whatever it is that you're trying to promote, is through public speaking, right? And
yes.
speaking on podcasts, speaking on summits, speaking on a stage. Lots of people have a lot of fear of public speaking and
Yeah.
being on a stage like this, right? And when I used to be a life coach, and that was the way that I started getting visibility for my brand, was through public speaking. And I remember, and I've just kind of like tied this together now, because like I remember when I first started speaking, oh my God, I was so scared. Like the nerves, like I could not even hardly stand it. And I remember, now that we're talking about this, back when I was in high school, and I was a cheerleader. And you would think that because you're a cheerleader, you're popular, right? Who knows if that's true or not true? But we had this fundraiser where the cheerleaders each had a jar where they were collecting money, and people would give to the jar. And the cheerleader that collected the most money had to kiss a pig in an assembly, like in front of, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th graders, right? Well, I collected the most money. Now, the story that I tell myself today is, obviously I was the most unpopular, and, whatever, right? But I just
Yeah.
remember when I went out there, like I'm in front of the entire high school, right? And they bring out like this baby pig, and I go to lean in to like kiss the pig, and it squeals, and it
Oh,
scared me. And I mean, I
I
laugh at
bet.
it now, but it's like it scared me, and I kind of like jumped back. The whole school was like roaring in laughter. Now, you want to talk about humiliating for a high schooler?
Yeah.
Like oh my God, right? Yes,
Yeah.
when we talk about it now, it's funny,
Yeah.
sort of. It's
Yeah.
like sort
Yeah.
of. It's like, but I think that that's probably why it was so scary for me when I first started public speaking, because like you're so exposed, right? And that's
Yes.
what I felt. I was so exposed in front of all those people, and this very funny thing happened. Guaranteed nobody remembers it. Like nobody
Right.
remembered that except for me.
Right. It's burned into your memory and into your soul.
Yeah, but you know what
Yeah.
I really liked what you said, how you were able to find compassion for those boys that made their little, comments to you,
Yeah.
that they were just trying to fit in. And, everyone else in this high school assembly, they're just like reacting to something that is actually kind of funny, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so it's not like they were like, ha ha ha, Lori, that was funny. Like this pig
Right.
squealed at the most inopportune time,
Right.
right? And it scared me. So it is
Yep.
funny when you look at it, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Well, and that really helped me to, talking about the compassion type of thing. And I'm not, really mean spirited. I'm not that type of person. Do we make snarky? We like going out people watching. Boy, I'll tell you what. We'll be like, why is that lady wearing heels at the festival?
right.
Like where you got to walk
Yes.
50 miles. Um, but you know, I it allowed me an opportunity to step back and take a look at a couple of my stories,
Hmm.
because there are some stories about people that like, what the heck was wrong with that guy, that like he kept talking to my daughter and I, and kept talking and talking. We're like, we need to go, like seriously.
Hmm.
But then I was able to rework that story and put a spin of the compassion into it.
Right.
So I feel like it. And I feel that the more I write, I'll get stronger with those things and learn more as I go. But not only was I finding the humor, I was finding the compassion at the same time. So it
Right.
wasn't like humiliating him for the way he was acting.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, it was taking a step into his shoes and like where he may have been coming from,
Right.
where he had somebody to talk to finally or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and you'll read about that story, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, I think it's really important because we have to be careful to not traumatize other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much of that going on in our world right now.
Right.
And so there are some like, I don't know. I think humor for me that is a put off for me is like where it is really mean spirited and it's just
Yes.
like,
We are making fun of other
yeah,
people. I
yeah,
think one of the funniest things when I think about like comedians, right? I think for me, some of the funniest comedians are the ones that can find the funny in everyday life, but also find the funny in themselves. And
yes.
I think that that's probably the hardest thing for people to do is to be able to laugh at themselves. And I think
Hmm.
if we can get to a point where we can laugh at ourselves, um, and take ourselves like a little less seriously, life can be a lot more fun.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to ask one final question, and
Yeah.
that is, what is it that you feel is like your mojo or like your special superpower that you bring to the world?
I think that my superpower I bring to the world is my sense of humor
Mm-hmm.
and really diving in and bringing that out and making people happy and making the world a healthier place.
Mm-hmm.
I've had moms reading my stories to their kids for bedtime stories and then taking
Oh,
pictures
that's
of
cute.
that.
Oh, that's
Or
cute.
I had a coworker that said, my mom's been really, really sick. And I bought her a
Oh.
copy of your book. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like so nice to see her laughing
Mm-hmm.
while she's reading it. And
Yes.
so I did say, like, if I can change it to be a New York bestseller, that would be awesome,
Right.
right?
Right.
Probably in some ways and not in others. But my major goal with this was if I can make one person smile, bring joy to
Mm-hmm.
one person's life, I've
Mm-hmm.
I've reached my goal in life with
Absolutely.
with this project. So, and I've
Absolutely.
done that twofold. And I don't know. I think my other superpower, it's kind of two things,
Two pronged.
but is being able to inspire others,
Mm-hmm.
to other writers, other
Okay.
people, encouraging them to like reach for their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing for me. This was a dream of mine. I'm all about the bucket list, whatever you
Right.
want to call it, the bucket
Right.
list, your dream list.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I I feel like people should not get to the end of their lives and not have tried to reach for those dreams.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, because there's studies shown that people, older people have been interviewed and that's one of the things that they regret at the end of life.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
go out without regrets. Like, do that thing. If you want to climb the mountains in the Swiss Alps, make it happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
set your intentions and do it. And that's exactly what I did with this book.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Gina, for being here. And I will provide a link for the book. Go out and get a copy of it. Read it at the end of the day or at the beginning of your day to start or end your day with some smiles and laughter. And yeah, I just appreciate what you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much. And just so your listeners know, second book is coming out this year and it's the second
Oh,
half to this one. So
oh,
get
okay,
this one
cool.
and read it, and then that way you can read the follow-up. And then I'll be doing an anthology. So you were speaking of pet stories, that's going to be the first anthology. It's going to be animal stories. So I might
Oh,
have to hit
cool.
you up on your sister's story.
Yeah. Oh my God. I could have so many stories about my dog. like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Uh-huh. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the On a Mission Mojo podcast. Ready to dive into more incredible stories of people on a mission? Next week, I'll return with a fresh episode to ignite your passion for creating a better world. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a glowing review, and spread the word to all your friends. Head over to onamissionbrands.com for more great episodes. Remember, the world needs your mojo, so go out there and let your brilliance shine.